So Idai was one of the very first people to contact us at Elliptigo back in 2009. He sent this crazy email talking about how he had this guy named George who'd fallen off of a mountain in the French Alps and broken every bone in his body, and like 8 months later had run an Ironman. And he was looking for things for George to do. So he emailed us, was like, hey, I want George to ride from John O'Groats to Land's End, which didn't mean anything to me, but that's the length of Britain, which I'm sure everybody now knows Idai holds the Guinness record for doing that on an Elliptigo. So anyway, so back in 09, Idai had this fantasy of somebody riding that distance, and so he emailed us, and of course, we didn't even have a product, so I politely wrote back and was like, yeah, thanks, but we're a small American company, we don't have a product, so no, we're not going to send you a bike so some guy named George can ride from two places I've never heard of. Just, you know, it just wasn't in the cards. So anyway, a year later, he like pings us again now that we're selling product and stuff, and he's like, hey, I really want this ride to happen. So I finally, because he has an unusual name, like Idai Makaya, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to see at least what this guy looks like. So I Google him, and he has a website. If you've never gone to Idai's website, you should go to Idai's website. Back then, his cover photo was him like topless, just shredded in like a crazy martial arts pose. And so I'm like, whoa, who is this guy? Right? And so again, I politely email back. I'm like, yeah, you know, thanks for being interested, but we're not going to send you guys a bike so that this guy George can ride across the length of Britain. So so a few months after that, though, Britt and I and Bryce are trying to figure out our international distribution strategy. We're talking to some people from England about being our distributors there. And so I get two bikes, throw them into a plane, and fly over to London on my way to Eurobike. And I flew to London to meet with these different groups that we were going to potentially work with. And before I even got there, it was pretty clear that they weren't going to be good fits. But anyway, I went there to check it out and talk to them. And so I remembered this guy Idai. So I emailed him sort of last minute. It was like, hey, I'm going to be in London. Let's get together. So we meet at a Starbucks. I show up. I'm pretty sure I did not have a bike with me. And he shows up in a suit. He does PR for a hospital chain. And he was at work, so he comes over in a suit. And about 20 minutes into that conversation, I figured out that he's actually the perfect guy for us in the UK. So about an hour later, I find myself on a train to Milton Keynes, which is where he lives, to show him the Elliptigo. Idai like gets on it, does a couple laps of this shopping mall. It happened to be the same day we were in the Wall Street Journal, so it was sort of a crazy day. But anyway, at the end of that, basically we shake hands. I leave a bike with him, and we agree kind of to the terms of a consultant arrangement that 6 months later turned into a full-time hire. So, and ever since then, I've referred to him as our man on an island, because he truly is out there on his own. One of my other favorite stories about Idai was when I think it was the second shipment was coming into the UK, the driver got lost. So Idai jumped in his car and was like driving around Milton Keynes and wherever else to find this truck, this lorry. He finds the lorry, waves the driver down, it tells the driver to follow him, and then leads the truck to the warehouse to then help unload the bikes into the warehouse. So and unlike us here in the US, where we used to do stuff like that when there were like 6 of us, now there's 20 of us, so we don't do any of that stuff anymore. There's still only one of him, and he's still doing stuff like that. So it's been a heck of a ride. I think everybody knows his amazing exploits on the Elliptigo and his ability to corral others to make as poor of decisions as he makes with regards to crazy rides. But the last 5 years would definitely not have been the same without him. And he has created some amazing memories for me personally, and I think for specifically for a group of customers for sure, and I think the whole company. So Idai is with great pleasure. They say thank you for your service. I hope you enjoy your 11V.
Greetings from England, Team Elliptigo. Brian's asked me to share a few words in light of the 5-year anniversary bike that I received last week. And for me, it's been 6 years now since I met Brian in London, and my course changed to join Elliptigo. It's been a brilliant 6-year journey for me so far, even though I feel like we're just getting started and there's still so much to do and there's so much more I'd like to do. And but I'd like to just reflect on my thoughts so far, which is really that I think as a project, the Elliptigo is about changing people's lives in relation to health and fitness. Many of us in the company will understand just how important health and fitness is to us as individuals, and it's like that to many people around the world. It's about the health of your body and the health of your mind. And I discovered the Elliptigo many years back through Dean Karnazes, actually, whom I was interviewing in one of my previous roles as a magazine columnist. I developed an obsession with protecting the joints and protecting the body and long-term sustainable training. And Dean Karnazes was quite well known those days in relation to being able to train hard, do a lot of training and not get injured. So he was kind of one of the people I had to speak to, and he ended up pointing out the Elliptigo to me back then. And my interest in protecting the body had actually stemmed just from more personal reasons. My mom, who started running back in 1990 in November, on the same day as me, we went out running together when I was 16 years old, and from that moment we both ran regularly for many years, but my mom developed arthritis, and it became clear in my mind that there was a risk from running, and I felt I needed to find a better way for myself and just needed to help people find better ways. And that became kind of the underlying theme of my magazine articles that I used to write for the sports magazines and the martial arts magazines, was how to protect your body, because I'm very particular about that in every form of training that I do. I think long term, and I think, how can I make this better? How can I make this good for me? I know that's hard to believe with some of the stuff that I'm doing recently, but believe it or not, I think some of this excess actually relates to the fact that the Elliptigo is just so good at protecting your body. Perhaps not your mind, but your body. So that's how I got into the Elliptigo. And I've met a whole range of people since I started working with Elliptigo at the end of 2010, a range of people whose lives have been changed, and we all understand, we all know the stories: people with joint replacements, people who've had heart attacks, people who've been overweight, people who are making life changes, and the Elliptigo has just been that right thing for them. They've all got access to bikes, they've all got access to gyms, personal trainers, but the Elliptigo was that right thing for them. And I think that's the important message here, is that there's a huge section of the population for whom the Elliptigo is just the right thing. It's a thing that will help them stay on course, that will help them change their lives, that will help them be the best that they can be. And we need to help those people find us and join us. And I think that's what the Elliptigo project's about. It's about people finding their best. The Elliptigo is a vehicle to that kind of success. It's a vehicle towards that kind of happiness, that kind of health, that kind of well-being. And we are the custodians who are building this movement. And I truly believe that this movement has the same potential as other similar movements we've seen in the past, like triathlon, like skateboarding or rollerblading. Huge movements. They had to start somewhere. They're modern, but they're big, and because there's a need that they are meeting for people. And we've made something for a group of people that I think have been kind of left out. We're allowing people to be their best, at their athletic best, at their healthy best, into older age and into the long term. And I think that's just a great thing. So that's what I think of the Elliptigo. And it's so broad ranging. We could go on about it forever. But I just want to say thank you to the team for all the support you've all given and for all that you're doing to advance this movement. Thanks to everybody. I'm proud to be part of the team. And it's a long journey, but we're going to make the most of it. And like everything we do, we will succeed.